Hello guys, it's Katie and welcome back to another video. So today's video is super exciting because not only have I graduated high school, but I'm also going to be sharing with you guys my high school experience as well as college experience, because if you don't know, I did take quite a few college courses when I was in high school. So in this video I will be sharing with you guys how I took those college courses, how I was an honors student as well as in National Honor Society, as well as just my high school experience overall. That way it can hopefully help you out if you are going into high school or even thinking about becoming an honors student or taking college courses. Plus, I will also be covering my plans for after high school at the end of this video, so make sure you keep on watching to see all of that. So if you guys do want to see more craft, crochet, or business videos from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the post notification bell. That way you know every single time I upload a brand new video. And with that, I am just going to get started on today's video. So if you guys don't know and you don't follow me on Instagram and stuff where I've been talking about it more, I did graduate the day you guys are seeing this. I graduated 2 days before, so you guys are seeing this on May 28th. I graduated on May 26th, so super exciting. And as I said in the beginning, I graduated with honors and I was also in National Honor Society, and I almost have my AA degree completed from my local community college as well. So I will get more into that later on how I did that, but just as a basis, that's the stuff I was involved in high school, as well as I was in choir for the first 2 years of high school. So I am first going to start out with sharing all the courses I took throughout high school and college, and that's when I'll get into talking about how I got into taking college courses as well. I do just want to warn you guys that this is probably going to be a very long video, so I do apologize in advance for that. So as I talk about different stuff, I will put in any pictures that I have. The main thing is probably going to be pictures of like my first day of school each year. So the first high school course I took was actually my last year in middle school. So I was in 8th grade and I took Algebra 1 honors. And now, at least where I live, which is in the Tampa, Florida area, Algebra 1 is normally taken your freshman year of high school, but my middle school did offer, and a lot of students did do this, where they took either Algebra 1 or Algebra 1 honors their 8th grade year to start out getting credits for their high school. So that's what I did, and that was the first class I ever took to start out my high school career. And again, that was Algebra 1 honors my 8th grade year. And little side note, if you guys do see me like looking over, I have my computer over here. I pulled up all of the classes I've taken, that way I don't miss anything, hopefully. And now with Algebra 1 honors, the main thing was, of course, you had to pass the class to get the credit, and then you also had to pass the EOC, which is end of course exam, and I passed that as well. So that gave me the credit for high school and for that class to be finished even before I was going into high school. So the next class I took was actually the summer between my 8th grade year and my 9th grade year. So also known as freshman year if you're in the States. I know places like Canada and other countries don't call it freshman year, but just as a lowdown for you guys, if you don't know, freshman is 9th grade, sophomore is 10th grade, 11th grade is junior, and senior is 12th grade, and that's technically what I'm in now. Well, as you're seeing this, I would have graduated, but as I'm filming this, it was actually my last day. So I'll get more into that as well, because I am gonna do a few little like stories and show pictures and videos and stuff like that as I go along through telling all the courses I've taken, everything. So that next course I took was online through FLVS, which is Florida Virtual School. And in my high school, one of the graduation requirements is to take an online course. So I figured I would get that out of the way before I even got into high school, because I knew in high school over the summers I would either be working or volunteering or just caught up in other things, so I thought it'd be a good idea to start then. And I also really did not want to take HOPE, which is a physical education class, basically a PE class. I really didn't want to have to take that in school, so I was able to take that through Florida Virtual School. And I did the first segment, which is basically a semester, over the summer between my 8th grade and 9th grade years. So in 2017, I started out my freshman year, and 2017 was my first semester as a freshman at my high school. So I had a full schedule that year, and the first class was social media, and I took that class for only the first semester. That class was kind of just a fun class to learn about social media marketing, as well as like mental health with social media and like different kinds of stuff like that. I don't remember that much about it because that was literally my first period of the first year I was there, so that's been almost 4 years ago now. So I will just tell you that I remember it being a really fun class, but that's pretty much all I remember. My second period that year was, which if I say period, also that just means class. I know like every country and state and everything has different ways of saying it, so I'm trying to explain what I mean as I'm talking. But anyway, my second period that year was Spanish 1. And if you're going to get into a 4-year university, the requirement is to have 2 years of a foreign language, and the most common one is Spanish, of course. So I took Spanish 1 as my second period class that year. So my third period class that year was chorus, and of course that's just choir, singing. That was an elective class, which all 3 of the classes I've talked about so far were electives. They were just kind of fun classes that, you know, you get to choose your own electives and everything. At least where I'm going to school, that's the case. So choir was just something that I enjoyed when I was in middle school, so I wanted to continue in high school. So that's what I did. I was in the mixed choir for my first 2 years of high school. So that was my third period for the first freshman year. So my fourth period class was reading honors. My fifth period class was biology honors, and that's just an average class that 9th graders take, at least where I am going to school at. So that was pretty normal. And then right after that class that year I had lunch, which the way my school works it is 4th, 5th, and 6th periods are lunch periods, and like 1/3 of the school has 4th, 1/3 of the school has 5th, and 1/3 of the school has 6th period lunches, and you get the whole period for lunch, which is pretty nice versus like only having a 30-minute lunch or something. It makes it like 45 to 50 minutes depending on the day, because they did have early release days once a week. So that was 6th period, and each year the lunch periods are sometimes different, so I will just include that in there, that way you don't think I'm skipping a number. But anyway, my 7th period that year was geometry honors, and then 8th period was English honors 1. And in my school district, the way it goes is just English 1, English 2, English 3, English 4 for all of the 4 years that you're in high school. So like I said, that was the first semester of my freshman year, and the second semester was the exact same schedule, except the first period class I had social media the first semester. The second semester, that class switched over to parenting skills. So that was the only difference. So this whole year I made all A's and B's, and by the end of my freshman year of high school, my district GPA was 3.7485, and my state GPA was 3.4285. So the district GPA is the one that's weighted, which means that includes the honors courses, which you get like 0.5 added onto your GPA for every honors course that you pass. And then the state GPA is the one that is unweighted, meaning it's just dependent on your grades and it does not have the extra added stuff for either honors, college courses, or AP courses are what gives you extra credit on, well, not extra credit, but extra points on your GPA. In that year, I did have to take 2 EOCs, one in biology and one in geometry, and any EOC you take is required for graduation for you to pass it, at least where I'm from. So I took those 2 EOCs my freshman year as well and passed those. They're not, at least the tests from what I remember, are not very difficult as long as you pretty much keep up with your coursework and everything in the classes. There's pretty much nothing to worry about if you're gonna fail the test. So just make sure you have a good understanding of the concepts and you are keeping up with your work, and you should be perfectly fine on most of those exams. Now, I can't speak on other places, I just know how it was for my high school experience. So the summer between my freshman and sophomore years, I did not only volunteer, so locally in my area there is a program that you can sign up for volunteering, and it's a summer camp for kids, and they do like musical theater and arts and robotics and stuff like that. So I signed up for the first 3 weeks of those, and basically it's the same hours you'd be in like school, but you're volunteering and like making snacks for the kids and stuff like that. So I did that the summer in between my freshman and sophomore year, and I did end up with 107, somewhere around there, hours of community service from doing that. So if you do have a summer at like the beginning of your high school career where you can volunteer and you're not working at a job yet, there's like nothing really tying you down, I would highly recommend you doing that, especially if there's like a summer camp you can volunteer at. Anywhere you can volunteer is great to get hours, don't get me wrong, but for me, I just found that a summer camp was a good way for me to get hours pretty quickly, and I enjoyed what I was doing because it was pretty fun as well. Not only for me, but for the kids that were at the summer camp too. And community service is basically for applying for colleges later on, and scholarships too. Also that summer, I took 2 FLVS classes again. So again, FLVS is Florida Virtual School, and I took the second segment of HOPE because you have to have both segments as a graduation requirement, and I took a class called Critical Thinking and Study Skills. That was basically a class that was like an easy A for me, kind of like a GPA pad just in case I needed it, and some of the harder courses challenged me a little bit and I got more C's or D's. I would have that as kind of an extra thing to pad my GPA. So I do recommend that as well if you are trying to keep your GPA pretty high and you do struggle in courses a little bit like I did, then taking some extra courses over the summer to pad your GPA may be a good idea for you. So for my sophomore year, my first class that year was writing 1, second was Spanish 2, third was English honors 2, and then I had 4th period lunch that year. 5th period was world history. 6th was course 2, which is basically the same exact class you take the year before. It's just considered number 2 when you've been in it the year previous. My 7th period class was chemistry 1 honors, and my 8th period class was algebra 2 honors. So the main thing I will say about this school year, and then basically the same thing that happened my freshman year, there was only one class that changed from the first semester to the second semester, and that was my 1st period. So my 1st semester it was writing 1, and my 2nd semester it was SAT prep, which the class actually had the same people in it, but it was just considered a different class name once the semester changed. The main thing I will say is for both semesters I did have all A's, 1B and 1C. The C was both semesters in algebra 2. I struggled in that class so bad, and I'm not going to try to sugarcoat anything in this video. I struggled a lot in that class, and my main problem was that year I actually had kidney stones at like the very beginning of the year. It was like September and school starts in like August, so it was like only a month into school, and I ended up having 2 surgeries for it, like a whole big ordeal. I missed quite a bit of school, and also later in the year I had my wisdom teeth removed, so that year I wasn't at school as much as I normally am. Normally I have like perfect attendance every year, and a lot of the concepts in Algebra 2 are pretty difficult, and one of the baseline concepts the teacher had explained when I was completely out of the class for the kidney stone problems. And when I got back into the class and asked him what work I needed to catch up on, he told me to get it from a friend. And so that did not help. And I remember, because each semester is broken up into quarters, so it was becoming the end of the first quarter, and I was really rushed to take the test because the teachers have to have the grades in for everything by the end of that quarter. That way they can send out progress reports to parents and everything. So I basically had to rush to take all of these tests, and my grade slipped way under what it normally would have been. But I still ended up with a C average, even though that first 9 weeks I did have a D. And you know, I'm just not going to sugarcoat it. That's what it is. I was very bummed out about it, trust me, but you know, it happens. So at the end of my sophomore year, my GPA for the state was 3.4705, and my GPA for the county, which is the one that also determines your class rank, which is out of how many students you're this number or whatever it is. So I had a 4.1505, and this, all of the GPAs are on a 4.0 scale, by the way. The only way you have above a 4.0 is because of those extra AP honors and college courses. And during my sophomore year, this was the first time that I took an FLVS class while I was also in regular school. I took US Government, which is a graduation requirement for my high school, and for some reason they were changing it from some of the freshmen from my year, class of 2021, took the US Government their freshman year, and then they were going to take economics their senior year. And each of those are only a 1 semester class. Versus some people, I think if they had more electives, they put them in to have US Government and economics their senior year, which I did not want to do because I wanted my senior year to leave early from school and all of that. So I decided that I was going to take US Government on the Florida Virtual School. That way I could get that credit out of the way. So that's what I did during my school year, my sophomore year as well. And then in between the summer of my sophomore year and my junior year, I also took economics, which again, like I said earlier, was a class that was for seniors traditionally, but I decided that I was going to take it earlier because I did not want to stay longer at school than I had to my senior year. So now we're going to get into the part where I started my college experience. So at the end of my sophomore year, I can't remember if my guidance counselor talked to me or if I made an appointment with him or what it was, but somehow I had a conversation with him. We decided that I was going to start doing dual enrollment courses, which the high school that I go to is very close to the local community college. So traditionally, a lot of kids even walk over to the other school to take their courses, or they just drive over. But either way, a lot of students would leave early and take the courses over there. So we decided that's what I was going to do, but ultimately I never took courses at the community college. I took them all online. But either way, the summer between my sophomore and junior year, that's when I took my first community college class. And that class was called First Year Experience Orientation. And basically the purpose of that class was to kind of figure out what degree you're gonna work towards and what classes you need to work towards that kind of stuff. It was basically figuring out what you would do throughout your college career. And that was the only class I took for college that semester because I just kind of wanted to get my feet wet. So over the summer I did take that course as well as the FLBS one. So the next year was my junior year, and that was the first year that I started to leave school early. So I did only have 5 classes at school that year, and then I left. Technically 6 if you include my lunch period, but now that I'm graduated, I'll tell you that I left right after my class and pretended like it was my time to leave, even though it technically wasn't, because they technically want you to stay for lunch, but I always just left and went home to eat because there was no point in staying, in my opinion, especially when I could eat and start getting other schoolwork done at the same time at home and not have to bring a lunch every day and that kind of stuff too. So for that year, my first class was AP US History, which, as you can tell, I started taking AP courses at this point, and that's because the year before I had done so well in my other courses that my teachers from those classes recommended me to do AP courses. Anyway, moving on. The next class was Math Analysis Honors, and as the second semester, that class became Trig Honors or Trigonometry Honors. People call it both. But that was the only class that I did not do AP in because, yet again, I did not do very well in math the year prior. Next, I had AP Chemistry, and then for 4th, I had Customer Service Representative. And that class probably sounds a little weird, but you're basically a teacher's assistant for that class. And they do also have you do a course online, so like once a week, you would stay in the classroom instead of going to your designated teacher to help them out. And you would stay on the computer and do this certificate course to get a certificate in customer service as well. So you can put that on like job applications and stuff in the future. And then my 5th and final class for that year was AP English Comp. As you can tell, I had 3 AP courses that year. And now when I would go home during the day, they don't just let you go home. You either have to have the course at the end of the day where they let you go to a job, or you have to have like college courses that you're either going home to take or going over to the college to take. So that's what I did. I had 3 college courses, technically 6 different ones, but I'll start out with the first semester. That semester I took Intro to Entrepreneurship, Principles of Marketing, and English Composition 1 at the community college. And then the second semester of my junior year, I took Principles of Macroeconomics, Intro to Music, and General Psychology. So that was my course load for the year of 2019 to 2020. And 2020, of course, was when the pandemic hit and everything. And that's when I also started this YouTube channel and all of that. So I have a video of the story of that if you're interested, but that's, you know, just for time perspective, that's when that happened as well. And going back to my high school grades, my first semester, I got 2 C's, 2 A's, and 1 B. So I was struggling a little bit in those classes. And you know, that's okay, because they say that for colleges, they would rather see you challenging yourself in harder courses than you getting straight A's in like regular level course the whole time you're in high school. So I knew that even though I was getting a couple C's and a B, it was much better than me doing honors classes for the rest of my years and getting all A's the whole entire time, because then not only would I not be challenging myself, but colleges would recognize that as well. So that was basically the thinking behind that, even though AP courses are really difficult. Which AP courses are through College Board, and AP stands for Advanced Placement. So at the end of the course, you take an AP exam, and that will decide whether you get college credit for the class or not. So I will just tell you that I only got college credit for one of the courses out of the 3 that I took, and that was for the English comp class, and that credit for my AP English in high school counted for my second English at the community college, if that makes sense. And then you'll notice the only course I was missing for the graduation requirements was English 4, but the English 1 that I took at the community college counted for that English 4. And then the AP English I took my junior year not only counts for English 3, but it also counted for my second English at the community college. I hope that makes sense. It was a little bit confusing when they told me that too, but that's how it worked out. So I basically did take the same amount of Englishes that anyone else would, just 3 of them in high school and 1 of them in college. Now to talk about the GPAs, you'll see that there is a huge spike in my GPAs. The main thing I can attest this to was the second semester I did get straight A's, and honestly I think that was when COVID hit. My grades went like through the roof, and I think that was because the only thing I was really doing at that point was this YouTube channel and school. I had nothing else to do. I could go hang out with friends, all of that. So I put a lot more energy into school, which I'm not saying I didn't put a lot of energy into school beforehand, but I am just saying since that was the only thing I could focus on, my grades went up a lot. And a lot of the teachers didn't give out assignments that were too difficult or anything, because they knew everybody was really stressed out anyway because of the pandemic. So I did get straight A's the second semester. And the weighted GPA is going to include 0.8. So for every AP class you take and pass, you get 0.8 or 0.08. I'm pretty sure it's 0.8 added to your GPA. And then for the honors classes, it would be 0.5 added to your GPA. Since I had 3 AP courses that year, that's also another reason my GPA spiked pretty high. So my state GPA, which is the one that determines whether you graduate or not, you have to have over a 2.0 for that. I had a 3.4814, and for my district GPA, which like I said before, that's the one that determines your class rank, that one I had a 5.3614, which is a crazy number to think about because that's on a 5.0 scale. I mean, that's on a 4.0 scale. So anyway, that's the last GPA that I have written out. So as far as I know, that's as high as my GPA went. But the classes that I took my senior year did count into that as well. And my senior year was very different from anything else. But first I do need to talk about what I took in between my junior and senior year, because I've always taken summer classes. There hasn't been a year that I haven't. So anyway, so I did take another FLVS class the summer between my junior and senior year, and that class was personal and family finance. I thought that it would be a good class for me to take, and also just another like GPA pad, which I didn't think I really needed it, but I did think it would be a good idea anyway to learn that stuff for my future. So I took that class on Florida Virtual School, and that was the last course I took there, and that's the last course I will ever have taken there. So, and as far as the other classes I took over the summer of 2020, that was intermediate algebra, ethics, and public speaking were the 3 classes I took at my community college over the summer between junior and senior year. And I realize I haven't been telling you guys the grades that I got in all of these classes, but just know that all the classes I've taken up to this point in my career have been all A's and B's, and I'll get into the grades later on that were not A's and B's. So my senior year is going to take a little bit of explanation. So before even the pandemic hit and everything, I had decided that my senior year I was going to do the early admissions program, which is basically the same thing that I was doing before with dual enrollment, except I would not be enrolled in any classes at my high school. So that basically meant that I would be full-time at the community college while still being enrolled in my high school and still being able to do the activities that the seniors did get to do this year. So that's been what I have done this year, and I will just share with you the classes that I took through the community college this year, and then we'll get into the rest of the video. So for the first semester, I took Intro to Computers and Tech, Biological Foundations, and then the Biological Foundations Lab, Financial Accounting, and College Algebra. So that's technically 5 classes, but the lab is only like 1 credit, so it was a really simple class. You kind of just watch the labs and then write down what you observed and that kind of thing. But this is where some of my grades started to slip a little bit, and my main explanation for that is honestly not saying that you should do this, but focusing on my YouTube channel and my business was a big part of what I did. I wasn't spending as much time on my schoolwork, and also just senioritis. I have been very much to the point where the last year has been fighting like tooth and nails to get myself to do schoolwork, and when I was doing schoolwork I hated it and I was doing it all at the last second and definitely not putting as much effort in as I should have. So the main piece of advice I will give to you if you're in the same situation, whether it's now or at some point in the future, just try to power through it and do the best you can, honestly. And that's what I did as well. And we'll get into what's going on in the future, at least my plans for the future. Obviously I don't know what will happen. Just know that I got all A's and B's except 1 class, and I ended up with a D in financial accounting. And I thought I was gonna have a C, and I was like, a C is fine with me. And I had this project that was due, and I finished it, and I got like an 80 something on it. And on Canvas, which is the platform that the community college uses for the classes, they have a thing you can put in that's called like the what if grade. So you can put like, oh, if I get this grade on this assignment, how would that affect my grade? And I was able to put in, okay, I get like an 80 on this project, then I'll have a C in this class. That's great. And like, it was a project you could keep improving your score as much as you wanted to, but I was like, I'm not gonna improve it anymore. I don't really care whether it's a C or a B, whatever. And I did not read the syllabus over again, and apparently on the syllabus it said for that final project you had to have an 82% or above for it to count, otherwise it counted as a 0. And I did not know that, so I ended up with a D in that class because that project counted as a 0, and it was like a big portion of the grade. Still a little bit salty about that to this day, but that's okay. But I learned from my mistakes, and I did have to retake that class. Even though a D isn't actually failing a class, I had to retake it because it is a requirement to pass it to take another class that's required for the degree I was trying to do, which I didn't even mention at the beginning. I apologize, I'm kind of like all over the place, but entrepreneurship was the degree that I was going for, an AA in entrepreneurship from the community college. And then my plan was to move forward to one of the 4-year colleges around me, or an online 4-year college, and get the bachelor's degree. And now we'll talk about how that plan has changed in a little bit. So because I failed that class, the next semester, which is the one that I just finished up earlier this month, so that was spring of 2021, I had again financial accounting because I had not passed that with a C or above, which was needed. I had principles of microeconomics, calculus for business, intro to oceanography, and elementary statistics. So for this last semester, I ended up with 2 C's, 2 B's, and an F. Which you might be thinking, wow, you know, and I was too, because I have never gotten an F ever, I don't think. And I told you about the 1 D in the Algebra 2 class, but that ended up being a C at the end of the semester. And then I told you about the D from the semester before, and that was just an honest mistake. I thought that I was gonna end up with a C. So it was shocking to get an F, but I will tell you that this was in calculus for business. I struggled in this class so bad that I decided, again with the what if grades thing, I put in there for the last 2 tests, if I got a 100% on these last 2 tests, I still would have had a D in the class. Or maybe it was an F. It was either like a high F or a low D. And I decided I wasn't going to take the last 2 tests because I was going to have to retake the class anyway if I got an F or a D. And that's mainly because the grades for the test were so high. And I've never been a good test taker, especially in math courses. And none of the math is multiple choice, so you can't like narrow your way down to anything. So, and it's a lot of memorization and all of that, and I've never been good at that kind of stuff. And at this point, I already had made up my mind for what I wanted to do in the future, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And this wasn't required for that, so I decided that it was just best to let it go. And if I want to go back to school at some point, I will, and I'll just have to make up that class and a few more towards my AA degree, which, if you are wondering, my GPA at the community college as of right now, with all of the grades I just shared with you, is a 3.161, and I have 53 credits, and with the degree I was going for, I would need 60 to graduate. So I would have to take that calculus class over again, as well as managerial accounting, and I think like a history class was what I would have had left. I don't quite remember. I had already had it planned out to take it this coming summer, but that's not happening, and I'm gonna get into that. And of course so now, with all of my high school stuff shared to you guys, and the majority of college, I've done the majority of the AA degree, I'm going to insert the video now of me walking across the stage. And literally just saying that, I'm about to cry. But anyway, I'm gonna try and keep this really short and sweet. So, my plans for the future, I do not plan on going back to college to finishing the AA degree. As things stand right now, things could change, I don't know. I also have a lot of things with my business that I am expanding and working on. As you guys know, I just announced the podcast last week, and I've recently started doing 2 uploads a week. All of that are expansions towards my business that I am planning on making into a career. And I also have other plans as to like get my real estate license, which I have mentioned in a few videos beforehand, but I plan on doing that as a stream of income as well, possibly even flipping houses at some point, different things like that. And who knows where life will take me, but I do know that you guys will know almost everything as soon as it's happening, through either Instagram or through videos. So that is basically it. I mean, I don't want to be the person to tell you not to go to college or all of that. Like, college is great, especially if you want to do certain fields, but for me, for working on my own business, I do feel like the best way I'm going to learn is by doing it ultimately, and I've learned way more from starting this YouTube channel and my Etsy shop and everything. I've learned way more from that than I have from any of the schooling I've done so far, and I almost have a full college degree. So for my journey, that's going to be what I'm doing, but I don't want to tell anybody how their journey should go. So I'm just filling you in on what I am doing. But with all of that, I apologize that I talked for so long in this video, but I really do hope some of my experiences was helpful for you hearing. If it was and you enjoyed this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe down below if you want to see more craft, crochet, or business videos, and you can hit the post notification bell as well. That way you will know every single time I upload a brand new video. If you guys do want to see more from me, you can always check out my social medias, my Etsy shop, my blog, and more videos of mine. All of that is always included in the description box down below. And with all of that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!